understand that treating the illness in its root cause is much better than curing once it further developed. Here we are as a Maastricht team to present you how McKesson Canada can nip the problems of Canadian healthcare in the bud by introducing the technological solutions. Let me introduce you to my team, Christina Klei, Andrea Sinisi, and Anna Schulze-Tilling, and myself, Monika Hulewicz, who we are here to make a change in Canadian healthcare system. McKesson Canada is in the best position to address the problems of Canadian healthcare system. Once already introduced many problems, many solutions to the problems in the hospital, it is right now just one step to make a change by introducing the customer service, refocusing from technological parts to customer service, managing the workflow, as well as connecting the already existing systems. And all these three parts are going to work on a benefit of an 18.6% annual growth within the company. But it's not only going to stand on the benefit of McKesson Company. It's going to benefit the healthcare system, the hospitals, you, and also the government. So, based on the situational analysis, we have identified few trends in the Canadian market. One is the aging baby boomers who are right now in the need of being taken care of. The difficulties of hospital management that can be addressed by introducing the technological solutions. Technological solutions that McKesson has already partially addressed. However, nowadays, most profits of McKesson stem from the margins they gain from selling the medical supplies to the hospital. But there are still unexploited opportunities which are within the customer service and the software that McKesson can address to further help the hospitals connect to their patients and provide the safe solutions. First of all, let's remember what we want to keep in mind. Focus on a service as a system and leverage the current core competencies which lie in the field and customer services. Let's talk about our customers. Let me introduce you to Terry Lake. He is the governor of the healthcare minister in British Columbia. He is the one responsible for making the hospitals available for his citizens. Also, Dr. Olson and Jennifer, who are in an executive board responsible for maximizing the patient throughput in their hospitals. And last but not least, Ashley, the nurse who's taking care of the patient and wants to make sure that she always delivers the necessary medicine on the right, correct time to the right person. They're all in the need of being provided with the timely and safe solutions. However, we're not the one and only who already identified the problems. Ami Resource Bergen, Omnicil, and Cardinal Health have been already addressing the difficulties in Canadian hospitals. However, they all have the focus on the hardware development. They all provide the hospitals with packaging, drug distributions, as well as hospital maintenance system. But none of them introduced the proper software system and services, which are right now the place where McKesson can outperform them. And therefore, we propose right now that McKesson Canada focuses its resources to the software. And Andrea is going to guide you through how it's going to go further.
Thank you, Monica. So, ladies and gentlemen, as Monica has just identified the core competencies of the company, I would like to point out that in our opinion, they all rely within the hospital automated solutions. We wish to exploit those to the fullest by implementing a strategic change from being a reseller of products that somebody else makes to exploiting the core competencies of our company in-house by becoming a service provider. This strategic change is going to be compounded by an improvement of the Canadian health sector, which is eventually who's going to benefit the most from it. But let me explain to you how we're going to do this. Firstly, the bones. We're going to restructure the company from the inside, the very structure that holds us together. What does this mean? Changing the company from being a distributor of products to becoming a maintenance provider, the best customer service provider in the country. Secondly, what moves those bones forwards, the muscles that holds the structure and pushes us through our periods, through our toughest periods. Namely, introducing a new offering, the workflow management system. A repackaged product which consists of our software and our consulting services. Last but not least, the blood that reaches the most extreme parts of our body, namely the connectivity system that's going to place it all together and achieve the final synergies of our products. But let me guide you through how this is going to work. Firstly, the bones. As I've just mentioned, right now we're simply a distributor of somebody else's products. However, we could move to becoming the maintenance provider for the entire hospital equipment of Canada, with the goal of becoming the number one customer service provider in Canada. And how are we going to do this? By having the best and most talented, skilled repair workers that are going to service those machines. And who are we going to service? Well, namely the old partners that have already been working with us, ACENT and JVM, as well as Cretin and Uyama. New partners that are going to be excited to work with us to the goal of being the only customer service provider in the country. And why would they let us do this? Well, each company has its core competencies, and what we do best is being on the territory, close to the customer, working in feedback loops with them to provide the best customer service. And the goal as a strategy is to let each partner focus on what they do best, letting them take care of the hard work and us of the maintenance. How is this going to work? Providing a 24/7 timely maintenance solution, exploiting our closeness to the customer. However, we want a stepwise divestment from the product market. We don't want to just drop all our contracts. That's a business we've been in for ages. So while for the first 3 years, we keep all the contracts that we've already been having, we want to focus on also securing new contracts just for maintenance with those other leading equipment providers. Then, during the third fiscal year, when the contract with ACENT is going to expire, we wish to just switch around, becoming their maintenance provider, rather than just their distributor. And lastly, JVM. 5 years from now, the contract is going to come to a deadline. However, we do not wish to break such a successful partnership. Hence, we want to keep selling their products while becoming their favorite customer service provider in Canada. Hence, making McKesson the #1 leading customer service provider in the country. Moving on, we found a problem external to the company, namely the bed blockers, the bottleneck to the Canadian health system. People that need care, however, cannot be attended successfully. Those people could be helped by having an integrated workflow system that's not only going to help them find the right spot in the hospital, but also improve the efficiencies in the hospital so that those beds can be freed for them. This is going to mean that the nurses are going to know exactly which patient needs what care at what time, as well as the cleaning ladies, which room needs to be cleaned for the arrival of a patient, as well as the transportation, where to best place this patient to get closest as possible to the treatment he needs. And how are we going to do this? This sounds very hard. Indeed it is, and we're going to offer a package solution as a service provider. A team of consultants providing a software alongside with it, in a way that's going to make possible out of the hospital to transport a patient through its solutions as fast as possible. Once a patient arrives at the hospital, is registered and checked in. And thanks to our integrated system, which Christina is going to explain after me, we're going to be able to see the medical treatment that is received in the past. This way we're going to know exactly which room to position him in to receive the appropriate care for his diseases. After his care has been received, those information and all this precious clinical data is traditionally stored in these huge storage rooms where paper folders are hard to retrieve. However, we propose a third component, the blood, which wishes to connect all the involved stakeholders to share this data and make the best out of the synergies of integration. So let me hand it over to Christina, which is going to explain how this big data is going to be used.
Thank you. So after having strengthened our bones and muscles, I'm going to guide you through our third pillar, the blood. The blood transports oxygen to the furthest parts of our bodies, and the blood stands here for our integrated connectivity system. So having performed a root cause analysis, we came up with major problems that we will address with this system. The first problem being patient safety. Patient safety is twofold. Firstly, patient safety is at stake because right now from the physician's side, most prescriptions are written manually, written by hand, and therefore there's lots of room for mistakes when you pick up your drug, and this can be addressed by us. Secondly, one doctor, after visiting him or her, going to another doctor, they do not know about each other. They do not know what was prescribed before and what happened before. So there is also risk of patient safety. Consequently, there is a need to avoid mistakes in that part. A second problem that we identified is the inefficiency at the physician's office. Inefficiency because of a lack of access and because of an inefficient scheduling mechanism at the physician's office. So this results in long waiting times at the emergency rooms because people, instead of going to the physician, just go to the hospital and get treatment there. Even though there are enough physicians in Quebec, up to 25% of Quebecers do not have a family doctor at the moment. Consequently, there's a need to improve the access and the scheduling at the physician. The last problem we identified is an obsolete technology at the hospitals. Right now, every hospital manages itself individually, and therefore the technology is not up to date, and this can be improved as well. So how are we going to improve this? We're going to improve this by leveraging our existing technology, Relay Health, and further developing it. Relay Health is a connectivity solution. It's an integrated software that connects all different parties in the healthcare system, ranging from the insurance to the hospitals, to the patient, and even further. This technology is supposed to be sold to the federal governments. They set the standards for the provinces, so then they impose this and the provinces roll it out in their own hospitals, and therefore all the hospitals can be connected. So you can go in one province to a hospital and they have the information about you, even in another hospital. So when you get an emergency case, they know about each other, they know all your information. So what are the benefits? Firstly, the share of medical information, as I just explained, after giving consent, of course, from the patient. Secondly, the standardization and centralization of the procedure, so the hospitals will be more efficient, will work faster, will get the information faster. The patients can track their health records individually via the website with a login or via an app. We see an increasing do-it-yourself trend. People track what they eat, how much they work out, how much they drink per day, and this is in line with this increasing trend. Importantly also, you can locate the nearest and available physicians, so not only locate the nearest one to you, so which one you should go to, but also the scheduling is included here. So you can pick a time slot, and therefore the scheduling at the physician is more efficient for him and for you. Lastly, we want to introduce a reminder to take the drugs. So therefore, we decrease the medical dropouts, also working on the problem of chronic diseases. This eliminates the root cause to the Canadian healthcare system in general. So why should the government do that? That's a question. Or why should they buy it? There are several benefits for them. The quality of the healthcare system in general, the efficiency, and of course the patient safety is at stake and can be helped here. And for McKesson, this is also beneficial in several ways, such as the focus on services. System as a service is our new focus, as well as a secure position and a steady revenue stream. So how's our implementation going to look like? We can start right now by introducing a customer service hotline and getting in touch with the new partners that might be taken as new strategic partnerships. We can start the system development of the integrated bed management system and implement it afterwards, of course. Then we can start lobbying to the federal government to introduce Relay Health and implement it, spread it across the whole country. So what can you do once you leave this room? What can be done right now? Set up a hotline, contact possible strategic partners, such as the ones we proposed. Start developing the two systems, Relay Health, leverage it, and start integrating bed management system. Now Anna is going to tell you how this strategy works concerning our finances.
So let us have a quick look at a financial snapshot of the implications of these strategies. As you can see, we would be having an incremental NPV of 72 million. And with incremental, we mean that it is not only 72 million, but 72 million additionally to the profits you would be making under your former strategy. These profits will be incurred within the next 8 years. Of course, there will be profits later on, but in these 8 years, already 72 million. And This way, you will also be meeting your goal of 2-digit growth, with an average annual growth of 18.6%. The largest part of these profits will be made by the workflow system and the consultants McKesson will give to the hospitals. This has an NPV of 51 million. But let us first have a closer look at your profits now and in the future. So, as you can see now, most of your profits are made up of the reselling of machines as well as the sale of consumables. In the future, this part is going to decrease as we let go of the contracts with ASINT, but keep on having the contracts with JV Medi. On the other hand, the profits McKesson makes through maintenance will increase steadily as McKesson establishes itself as the #1 service provider in Canada. Also, we see a steep increase in profits due to the patient flow system and consulting. Why is this increase so steep? Well, you can profit from the fact that McKesson already has most of the resources necessary to implement these programs. McKesson has great IT expertise, it has a good reputation in the industry, it has good experience, as well as some software systems which would only need to be refined and fit to the needs of the Canadian system. So if we now compare the future growth McKesson would be having under the former strategy, continuing its strategy of reselling, we see a steady but rather low growth. But implementing the strategy we proposed, McKesson would be seeing a steep growth, making itself fit for the future and leveraging its core competencies. But let us not get too euphoric about this, but keep possible risks in mind and how we could mitigate them. So, the first possible risk is that hospitals may not be willing to buy the new workflow system. In this case, McKesson would need to increase its marketing efforts to really show that McKesson as a company is in a great position to solve the current problems hospitals are facing. And it is clear that hospitals cannot go on the way they are going on at the moment. And second problem might be that the government would not be willing to purchase the Relay Health system that McKesson has produced. In this case, McKesson can also have a plan B, selling to provincial governments and municipalities instead, letting the system spread more organically. Third risk could be that the partners McKesson wants to have service contracts with, might not be willing to have contracts with McKesson. In this case, McKesson could keep on having their contract with ASINT, buying itself time to find further partners and to develop a new strategy. So now as we have seen the details of the strategy as well as the finances, my colleague Andrea will wrap it up.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope it is by now clear that the challenges to the Canadian health markets represent an opportunity for us. We should tap into those by implementing 3 strategic changes, which not only are going to secure a better positioning for our company, but also are going to improve the lives of Canadian citizens. What we wish to achieve is improve our customer service to ensure machine uptime 24/7 for the hospitals in Canada, as well as sell a workflow management system that, together with the help of the consultants, is going to help resolve the inefficiency that we're currently experiencing. Last but not least, connecting it all, integrating those systems, and the 3 stakeholders, namely the hospitals, the patients, and us, in order to share this big data and make the most of it. These changes are not only going to secure a better profit for us, but are going to leverage the current resources and changing our profit formula from being solely a reseller of products that could possibly shrink in margins to become a service provider, one that doesn't have to fear competition as much and can take advantage of the first mover advantage. This is going to not only secure our position, but also secure that we do well for the greater good of the Canadian society. Indeed, we're not to forget our role in society and promote our corporate social responsibility and corporate stewardship to ensure the quality of life of Canadian citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention, and I would like to open the floor for questions.
if I understand correctly, so we are talking about a divestiture of the HAS segment, right? So in that instance, can we not set up the customer service side while still retaining the HAS segment? I guess the question is, so we're holding inventory, we have staff, we have people with this expertise. We project growth for the next few years there. Do we need to get out? That's my question.
I'm going to take this question if you don't mind. Well, so far we have noticed that the relationship with ASINT has been quite troublesome. We're not really appreciating their change from being, since their purchase from a private equity firm, their policies have been way too aggressive for our standards. We're talking about multi-million dollars machines which are not easily positioned in the market, as well as we're talking about the potential threat of competitors coming to the Canadian market from other firms, such as the two that I mentioned before. Hence, we think that a strategic move to becoming a service provider could secure our profit and long-term growth, while not impacting our sales of heavy equipment that we do through the resale of JP Medical.
Yeah, just a question about the software and consulting services. So technically here, I mean, we have the expertise because we've been in the industry, but we've been resellers and distributors, right? So all of a sudden it's this new internal skill set of being consultants, if you will. And have you considered the competitive landscape in that regard, all of a sudden as the service providers? And why wouldn't other companies go to consulting companies versus us?
Can you please, so what you're asking is why wouldn't the why would the other companies let McKesson service their?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a different skill set, right? Yes, there's the knowledge, but do we have, like, the people that we're reselling that know all about the product, are they consultants? Do we need a new internal skill set? Or are we well positioned to be able to kind of offer that consulting service? And if we are consultants now, have you considered who else is competing in that landscape as consultants and kind of software service?
Regarding the integrated med system management.
Yeah, I mean, yes, exactly, the workflow management, yes.
So, as you can see here, this is the proposed schedule of profits for the workflow management system. So, we are planning on training the staff interior to McKesson. It would be 10 McKesson consultants, which would be trained by an exterior company for 12 weeks. And these will be taking on the consultancy jobs. And we believe that since McKesson has such good experience in the industry and also human resources, since McKesson has been distributing and also servicing their solutions for quite some time. So we believe that McKesson will be at a first mover advantage in this market and will be able to solve the problems the hospitals are currently facing.
So relatively speaking, when I look at the finance, you see more profitability or revenues coming from that new space of consulting and workflow, call it workflow, compared to Relay Health. Can you elaborate on that, whether Relay Health is an existing solution?
Of course. So, as you can see here, this is the profit we expect to experience from the workflow management. The reason why these profits are coming so quick is that McKesson already has a system which is similar to the one we propose, but we want to refine it and combine these services with consultancy services. So we will be, you would be able to implement this solution quite quickly. But Relay Health Systems, on the other hand, would require some time for lobbying and also would not have the financial scale as we see in the workflow management systems. So workflow management would be something all Canadian hospitals would potentially require, since it's in such a situation right now. And afterwards, once they have a McKesson system, they would require further consultants as the system further develops and they experience further problems. While the Relay Health Systems is a system which could be implemented at a relatively low cost for the government. They would profit from it, and the only cost, or McKesson would be incurring afterwards, is the maintenance and further expansion of the program. So it would be of a different scale than the workflow management.
Okay, thank you.
Back to Relay Health for a moment. That is an existing product for McKesson. They're selling it into the market as best as they currently can. If I understand correctly, your new strategy would be to try and push that solution, but at the federal government level, and sort of have it mandated down through to the provinces and to the regional healthcare authorities. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. May I guide you through the steps?
If you'd like. I'd like to just understand that a little bit better.
Yes, okay.
Maybe the bottom one?
So yeah,
Be introduced into the market? Is that-
yeah. Thank
Yes.
you very much. So yeah, the main point why we want to introduce it at federal level, if I may explain this first, is because if we only introduce it at the provinces first, then one province is going to adapt it, one hospital is going to adapt it, but the other one does not. So if you, for example, have to go to an emergency to see an emergency doctor, go to the emergency room because you have like an emergency, then that doctor might not know that you are allergic to some other drug because the information is not shared among them. So this is why it is crucial that it is rolled out at every, on federal level, on national level, in every province. So first we need to sell Relay Health to the federal government. The federal government sets the standards for the provinces. So they're going to impose this to the provinces. It isn't said that they will all do it at the same time, but at least it is a standard then on the provinces. They will roll it out, then at the next visit at one of the medical parties, let it be a hospital or a physician. Of course, the patient needs to give his consent to share the information. That is, of course, also crucial. And then all the information can be shared amongst the parties.
So I saw we have a break even of 1 year. So that basically just because we're how did we come up with the 1 year? If we can maybe go back to this slide.
I'll go back to Do you mean this or that?
Yeah. Okay. So we mentioned it here, and then if we go to the next slide, so. In this instance, we're talking about,
Yes, the special thing about this strategy is that the investments you would be incurring are only incremental. So in the beginning, there would be investments to support the consultants, which would be educated. There would be investments to improve the Relay Health system, and there would be investment to improve the workflow system. But these investments would be relatively small compared to the profits which could be made with it. And the costs would be incurred also rather later on, incrementally. So the largest part of it would be labor costs, paying the wages of the consultants, as well as maintenance costs of the systems which would be implemented. So this is why the break-even point occurs so early.
Time for one last short question.
It's kind of a detailed question, but your integrated bed management system, I guess that's part of your workflow solution. I'm just wondering because, so this is supposed to help resolve the issue of bed blocking in hospitals. But as I understand it from the case, I think the issue is more the influx of patients. So how does having a better inventory of beds help combat the problem of too many patients, especially chronically ill patients or patients that come for minor issues into the hospital? How does that improve the patient workflow, the bed management system? Sorry, we don't have time. Not really.
Ta-da. Thanks a lot.